AnxietyCenter.com.
So my name's Vanessa, and I've actually been working with Sherry for it's going to be 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And back in 2017, that's when I started experiencing, I don't know if I should say DP, it's more like derealization.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a constant off and on battle for me. I just remember not having it for about a year, and then it returned. That being said, that's when I started working with Sherry back in 2021. And there was one point where I was really feeling great, and Sherry and I thought that I was at the end of my recovery. We really thought, because it was just like at one point I was just doing so well. But for the past few months, every day I've been feeling the derealization sensations, like literally every single day. Especially when I'm tired, when I go to the grocery store, it really gets triggered in certain places, or even like I'm in crowds. And it's just, for me, it's just like questioning like what's happening. It's literally making me lose hope and motivation that I can truly recover 100% from derealization, because I'm feeling like instead of me getting better, it's getting worse. And it just seems like the symptoms are hitting me in places that they never used to hit me before. Like recently we went to Disneyland, and it just hit me so hard that I felt so depressed, and I couldn't even feel joy. And Disneyland is one of the happiest places for me, and I was just crying out there, and I was telling my husband, like, I can't believe I'm feeling like this. And I just felt so disconnected. I never felt like that in vacations before. And even in crowds, I'm starting to feel it. I've never been one to avoid going to places because of this situation.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been like, oh no, I can't. I must avoid. Never. I've just always been like, hey, I'm still going to go out no matter what, since it first hit me. But it's almost like it's basically now it's become just like a habit. It's just a habit it's developed like in and out of thoughts. And the places, as soon as I walk in, it gets like automatically triggered, like the feeling, just like it just comes like boom out of nowhere. And it's just basically making me feel like I'm losing hope, because I feel like I'm either doing something incorrect, or I just don't understand why I'm not getting better. So my question to you, Jim, could it be possible that I'm doing something incorrect, or is it maybe my lifestyle? Lately, I've just been feeling completely burned out and exhausted, and I've been having episodes of like depression, and I've never dealt with depression before. Only when it first hit me 5 years ago, the DPDR, I started feeling those depression feelings, and then the depression hasn't hit me since then. It was mild depression, and then now it's like hitting me, but I have a feeling it's due to the fact that I feel like I'm not achieving something, like I'm not getting over it. It must be me. It must be that something I'm doing wrong, because, it's like always like an up and down. But this time around, it's been sticking to me for so long. And I'm like, I tell Sherry, like, what am I? She's like, you're not doing anything incorrect. But I feel that I am, because all of this symptom that has hit me lately. So I don't know if I'm doing something incorrect.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I have a few questions then.
Sure.
What age bracket are you in? 20, 30,
I
30,
just
40?
turned 37.
Okay. How long did you deal with anxiety disorder and symptoms before connecting with Sherry?
So I started feeling the disconnection to, I had an episode of excessive drinking, and then the next day I was hungover, and then I had a panic attack, and then right after that the derealization just hit me like just crazy. Like I was like, whoa, what happened? Like almost like a dreamlike state.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was in 2017, and then it was always like an off and on with that. And then I started working with her almost 2 years ago. So I was dealing with it for about 3 years, and I was doing my own research on it, but I've never worked with a therapist. I did go see a psychiatrist, and they said, nothing's wrong with you. You're fine. They just dismissed me because they seen how I was always happy. And I was like, I'm happy, but I just feel this way. I don't know why I feel this way. And they're like, oh, you look fine to me. And they dismissed me. So they took all of my blood work, everything came out normal, but I started working with her in about it's going to be 2 years now. So 3 years before that, maybe I was dealing with it.
Okay. All right. And if you were to rate your concern about this symptom on a scale of 0 to 100%, 100 being maximum and 0 being nothing, where would you rate your concern about this symptom?
When I don't feel it, I'm so courageous, and I'm like, I can handle it. It's like whatever. But when I'm in that, when I'm facing it, my fear of it is like, I don't feel like I even fear it, and I guess maybe I do. Maybe I'm just denying it. But I would say maybe it's it's really high because it's uncomfortable. Like I literally can't connect with like what I'm doing. Like I will be on the computer or I'll be talking to people, and it's just like I'm in my head all the time instead of being connected with everyone. So it scares me because I feel like, okay, can I overcome this? Is it true? Can you really overcome this? I mean, that's the fear behind it, I guess. So I would say did you say what's the scale?
0 to 100%.
Yeah, I say right now it would be about a 90 because I'm losing hope.
Gotcha. Sure. Okay.
And it wasn't like that before.
Yeah. Did you notice any episodes of anxiety before 2017?
I never knew what I was experiencing. I didn't know I didn't even know what anxiety was. People would talk to me, I'm so anxious. And I'm like, what is that? Or I'm stressed. And I'm like, what is stress?
Yeah.
And I think so. My mom's a very anxious person. She's a chronic worrier. So I was too. And I would always freak out with the smallest little things. So I would assume I had it from before, but I never knew I had it.
Gotcha. Sure. Okay. Thanks for the question or your answers.
Sure.
Well, first off, you can overcome this. We've not seen anybody be stuck in symptoms. It just doesn't happen. And of course, we always break it down to that simple equation. Anxious behaviors create stress. Stress creates symptoms. If you want to get rid of symptoms, you got to get rid of the stress, and for long enough for the body to recover. And we can do that. Like we can make good recovery progress and feel like we're out of the woods. But if there's a symptom that bothers us and it sort of pops its head up every once in a while, then we start to become sensitive to it. Then we start looking for it in those situations. Then we start to become anxious about it. Is it going to happen here? And what if it happens here? And oh my gosh, it's back now. Then we start that worry cycle all over again. Well, that worry creates the stress or creates the symptoms. So, a lot of times we see in recovery, there's that psychoeducation component where we're learning about it and we're applying things, we're getting good success and we feel confident. But then as that confidence builds and we're not quite to the finish line, we can have some upsetting things that trigger those old fears. And then we become sensitive to them again. And then we start to worry about them again. Then we start to question our recovery. Of course, which is that? Questioning and concern. It's worry. Worry is stress. Stress creates symptoms. So we just sort of slowly drift back into that cycle where we're creating that invisible stress through our worry and concern, especially if there's a symptom we don't like. And, we've had it in the past in situations and we didn't react to it very well just because we didn't like it very well. And so then we become super sensitive to that. And then we're expecting it to go. Now, there's another part of this. We can be bringing our stress down and doing fine in our recovery work, but just the notion of us looking for the symptom in those environments can sometimes bring it on. And not that our thoughts bring on the symptom, but we become more aware of it. And so it seems like it comes back. For example, dizziness is one. If we're feeling good, we don't pay attention to it, so we don't look for it. But if we're feeling good, yet we've had episodes of dizziness in the past and we didn't like it, well, we can kind of make ourselves feel dizzy just by looking for it and remembering what that feeling felt like. So there's going to be that's pretty common, especially when there's symptoms that bug us and the ones that we don't like, and especially the ones that we think are never going to go away. And so we kind of, sensitize ourselves to them and we look for them and they kind of come back. So there can be that component, and that's just part of the recovery process, is actually working through the tail end of becoming desensitized to it until the point where we're not looking for it anymore and we don't care. And even if it does show up, we just really don't care too much about it. So
But do
that's,
you think that maybe it's my environment, not my environment, I guess I should say maybe like the stress, like the things that's happening in my life? Because that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that there's certain things that are happening in my life that are triggering it. And I'm afraid that, like, for example, I don't know if this is happening to you now, but like, say you have something traumatic happen in your life, like, I don't know, just I'm throwing something out there, like a divorce or maybe like a death in the family. Can't those be things that can trigger it in the future? Like, because I feel like that's what people, they get rebound back to, they relapse because of specific things that happen in their life. And I think for me, that's what happened is I just had a baby, and she's 10 months. And when I was in labor, that's when it hit me. And it's been there since I had the baby. And it's been off and on, off and on. And then I just got COVID a few weeks ago, and then it just got triggered even harder. And so I'm like, I'm starting to see the patterns. And I'm like, well, if I'm having these stressors in my life now and I'm having them later down the line, does that mean that I'm going to just be stuck every single time I get like a really strong stressor? I'm not resilient to them. I'm just so sensitive that every single time I have something traumatic happen to me, whether good or bad, am I going to be hit with this derealization because I can't handle the stressors? Does that make sense?
It does. Again, you look at that equation. Anxiety creates stress, stress creates symptoms. And so whenever the body's stressed, it's going to present symptoms the way your body presents symptoms. And if, derealization, depersonalization is how your body responds to stress, then you can expect that as being a stress symptom. Now, that doesn't mean we have to be afraid of it. I mean, there are certain symptoms that develop for me that come back when my stress, when I don't manage it as well as I should. I just say, well, I know my stress is up or whatever, and get my stress down and go away again. So I just don't pay much attention to it. It's like people who get headaches because of stress. They don't worry about the headache. They just say, I got a stress headache. I need to get my stress down and move on. So that's where you can get to. But your body's always going to produce symptoms when it's under stress. Having a baby, absolutely, that's going to be stressful. And you have hormone changes going on. Those hormones are going to trigger symptoms, you bet. And even though you had the baby 10 months ago, you're still looking after a young baby, which is stressful at times. Sleep patterns are off and things like that. And then COVID certainly stresses the body, so you're going to get symptoms from that. So all of those are good reasons why those stress symptoms are coming back.
And then I just feel that if I feel that it's not the derealization, it's more like it's long. It takes so long. It's like a headache. Oh, it'll come. Oh my God, I'm stressed out, and then within a day or two, it's gone. But why does it take so long? Derealization. I mean, I've had it for like 10 months straight, and I'm like, it can take this long. A headache will just last maybe a couple of days because you have a stressor. But for me, it's like it's because it's so long that's what scares me. It's why does it take so long?
Well, it depends on the degree of hyperstimulation, right? If your degree of hyperstimulation is higher, it's just going to take longer for the body to recover from it and for symptoms to subside. That's why we're real proponents of managing stress day by day. Because as we keep our stress managed and the body in a good place, then even the stresses that come our way are temporary, short-lived, and move on. But if we let those stressors build up and we're not doing daily stress management, well, the body's going to take longer to recover. Yeah.
Hey, I see.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I thought my mic was still off because I was trying to tell her something.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Brianna. I just wanted to tell you that I had that symptom. It took about 6 months for that to kind of ease up for me, but I still have a bunch of other symptoms. But yeah, I know what you mean with feeling like I still have the detachment part, but if it makes you feel better that symptom did go away, the whole derealization. Like you felt like, I guess for me, it was like I would look and I'd feel like everything I looked at wasn't real, or I was kind of floating through everything. And when I go to the grocery store, like when you said grocery store, immediately triggered a memory because I remember being at the grocery store and looking through the aisles, and I just was like, I felt like I was on autopilot.
Yep, that's how I feel every single day.
Yeah, it's miserable. I feel for you. I really do. It's miserable, but if it makes you feel better, that did go away for me. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
I had this too when you were mentioning the grocery stores and all that. It's almost like a drunk. It's almost like you're high. You know?
Yep. And
everything is on high. Your sensory, your hearing becomes weird. But if Jim could explain, because this is what helps me, and I noticed that it's kind of disappearing, but I've had it for years on and off, and it is very annoying because it's like you're not really, like you're just barely existing, or you're in another world or something. But Jim, if you could explain to her that how the fight or flight, how derealization is a protective thing that the brain does when it's in fight or flight. And
I understand that. It's just there to protect you. Like I know the mechanics behind it. Sherry explained all that to me. But it's like, to me, Jim, because Sherry was mentioning to me that she used to deal with that, and she, even like in her life, she has like really big stressors, and she's never felt that again.
Yeah.
So, but then you say when you have stressors in your life, you come up with some symptoms still.
Yeah. Some of them, I had brutal depersonalization, derealization back when I was struggling with anxiety disorder, and for a long, long time. A couple of years, I think. It was just awful.
Wow.
I never thought it would ever go away, because I just thought that was my new reality. That's how devastating it was for me at that particular time. But as I worked on my recovery, it all went away. All my symptoms disappeared, and I've never had that back. And I've been through a lot of stressors. And in fact, this last year has been extremely stressful for me, because I'm waiting for hip surgery, and it's been 14 months before I get a chance to see the surgeon, which I actually get to see next week, which is thankful. But my pain is increasing daily, and that pain, walking on pain, really stresses the body. So my body's been under a lot of stress, but I don't have that symptom back because I manage that stress every day. It's deep relaxation, taking time to gear down. I spend time in nature. All those things to get to stressors down. Now, I have a benefit. I'm older, kind of semi-retired, if you want to call it that. Still work at the anxiety center for sure, but my schedule isn't packed like it used to be, so I have more time to gear down. But as a young mom, that's pretty tough. How do you get those breaks to gear that body down so it doesn't go into that higher level of hyperstimulation and symptoms? So that'll be a challenge you'll have to work through. But I just want to say that it will go away. It's there because your body's stressed. You get rid of that stress and it'll go away. That's just how it works. Does that for everybody. The trick is, what are my stressors? And so you asked me, am I doing something wrong? I would agree with Sherry. It's not that you're doing something wrong. My assessment is that you have some stressors going on, which you mentioned too right away, and maybe your body hasn't recovered from them yet sufficiently to get rid of that symptom.
Okay.
Because hyperstimulation takes a long time to alleviate. It's just not something we can do in a couple of weeks and it's gone. It's a long, continual process of gearing that body down, training it to be, calmer, and that's amidst all the other normal activities you have to do. So that's kind of the challenge, is getting that stress to the normal range and keeping it there despite all the other normal activities you have to go through.
Also, Vanessa,
I can attest that the hyperstimulation takes a long time.
Yep.
I've been at it for 20 months straight, exclusively working in my recovery.
Yep.
It's rough.
Yeah.
Vanessa, just so you know, also, well, you probably already know this, but you just had a baby 10 months ago. You still got a ways to go for your body before it's even back to normal. I mean, back to pre-baby body. Like, it takes over a year.
Yep. Yeah, I know. That's what I heard.
Yep.
Yeah, you're all right. You just got a little bit more time to go is all.
Yep. And
thank you. I really appreciate you girls.
Yeah, just realize that, you have concern about it, which is normal. We don't like the symptoms. We don't like them coming back on our daily activities. But this is where we have to desensitize ourselves from it. Just say, this is a symptom of stress. No big deal. You get through the situations and whatever. Just focus on the stress reduction. It's the concern that keeps these things going.
Yeah.
Yep.
Of it.
Yeah.
And when you look for something, like when you're looking for it, because you will look for it. Even you can't even deny that. I mean, you'll be thinking, oh gosh, I'm not having derealization, and then pop, then you have it.
Yep.
Your brain,
totally, your brain, Janice.
Yeah, what happens is your brain, whatever you expect, your brain is going to produce it. And that's the same thing with my dizziness and my floaty and off balance and, in the sensory stuff. If I'm looking for it, If I'm thinking, oh, I'm walking pretty good, I feel pretty good, then boom, it hit. The brain's going to react to that. It's going to do whatever you expect it to do.
Yep.
So how do we respond to those, Jim? Like, because those are just auto thoughts, right? They just pop in. It's not like you're like, oh, I don't want to think about it. They just automatically pop in because maybe where you're at in the environment, say you're in a grocery store, you're like, oh, I'm not feeling derealization. But then boom, it hit. How do you respond to that?
Yeah. Well, you just, it's a habit. So we just, change the habit. When we notice that the brain's heading that direction, say, no, not going to do that no more, and just change the channel and move on as best you can. And over the course of time, that habit becomes the automatic one rather than looking for the symptom. The other thing
I like what you said about change the channel, Jim. That's the advice you gave me about a year ago, just about 500 times a day.
Change the channel. That's a good one.
Yeah, you bet. And then as we get more focused on external world and we're not worrying about the symptoms, well, that worry then is replaced by calm and peace and something else. So that also helps the body recover, and then the new habit takes over. So we just don't entertain it anymore. So it is a process because we're changing behaviors, but we do that and move on. Yeah.
And then this will probably help in the future if, like, say I do decide to have another baby, maybe the DPDR won't come back because of the habits that I changed, right?
It could be, although again, whenever the body's stressed, it's going to produce symptoms of stress. And so the best place to get to is, this is a symptom. Big deal, it'll go away and I get my stress down and just move on. We don't have to say, oh my gosh, it's back again. What if it doesn't go away this time? And what if it gets worse? All that what if
that's
stuff.
What keeps it stuck.
Oh, absolutely, because that's a worry. That stresses the body, right?
So if I do the opposite of what you're saying, it won't last as long. It should fade away quicker than...
It'll fade away as your body recovers from the stress. And as, Brianna mentioned, if you're having another baby, well, there's hormone changes and body changes before you deliver and then after. So just realize that it's going to be a while before your body settles. And during that time, it can do whatever it's going to do. But this is where that passive acceptance is so important. It's like, whatever, I'll just have to deal with it. And as my body settles, I'll be fine. That's the best way to get through it for anybody recovering from anxiety disorder, because stressors are going to create symptoms. That's a fact.
And you can't get away from stress. Everybody has stress.
Yep.
And it's a good thing sometimes. Just people like us respond differently to the stress is what it is. It's how you respond to it.
Yep.
You have stress.
Yep.
But it's how you respond to it is how it's going to formulate into something that's a chronic thing or a bad behavior.
Yep.
How we respond.
Totally. Yeah. That's why passive acceptance, I know two little words that seem so simple, but that is so key, because if we're not reacting to our symptoms and the elevation in stress, then it's just a matter of time until stress goes away. Reacting is what keeps it going.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody. I really appreciate the support and the answers.
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah. And you're more than welcome. DP and derealization, just like dizziness, is just one of those nasty ones where it does affect your life. It's just how it is.
Yeah. Honestly, I think sometimes the derealization for me is, the dizziness is, it's hard to function every day and to do things, even though you have to get up and do stuff and tell yourself blah, blah, blah. But that derealization is it's all brain. So it's what you're seeing, it's how you're hearing, everything. And to me, it's almost as bad. I think it's sometimes worse. I think if I didn't have this, I could probably deal better with the, the dizziness and the off balance. But it's you just literally feel like you're high. I never did acid or anything, but I when I'm in the store, sometimes I'm thinking, God, this must be like taking acid. Like, you're like in Alice in Wonderland world. That's what you feel like.
Yeah, sure you do.
Yeah,
and sometimes I'll even feel like I'm taller than I am, or my perception of things outside and my vision is like, oh my gosh, I can see that blade of grass perfect, Yeah. And so it's so strong, and the light and everything is so, I'm thinking, God, this is like being high. It's just, and then I laugh.
Sounds so weird. Like when I hear dogs barking out, I'm like, oh God, they sound so, it just sounds weird to me. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Hey, Vanessa, I had a question for you.
Sure.
I'm only asking this because you sound like, see, this is one of the symptoms I have an issue with, but you sound like the girl who had the same problem. On on one of Jim's Skype videos. Did you have earworms?
I did.
It's you.
Nice you. Those are gone, by the way.
Oh, great. Those are the ones I cannot stand with the passion.
I did have that, and they're gone. Oh, Jim, yeah, those are positive stuff. Like, I had earworms. They're gone.
How long did those take to go the second time? Because I know you said you had them for a year, and then they went away, and then you came back.
And then they came back. Yeah, I think I was dealing with them for about 2 years.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yeah, that Sherry really helped me with that. I'm just so grateful.
Now, what did you do? Because that's what I'm like coming on here to cry to Jim about. So.
I mean, I just keep following what she says. I mean, I feel like the symptoms that you most fear are the ones that stick to you. For me, it was just like, because that one, I think because I was dealing with it, and then so it's funny because when I went to go see Sherry, it was because of the earworms, not because of the derealization. The derealization, I wasn't experiencing it when I seen Sherry. And so I connected with her right away because I was really afraid of the earworms. And so as soon as I connected and I started doing the work, it seems like it alleviated it much faster because I wasn't stuck in that cycle. I think what got me stuck in the cycle of DPDR is because I didn't get the help right away. I had it for like 3 years, and then I got the help, but the DPDR came during the time like I was seeing Sherry. So I think it's just the fact that I called immediately and I was like, okay, I need to do something about this immediately.
Well, I've had them for like 6 months now.
That's not a long time, so I think you'll be in good hands. Are you working with somebody?
Yeah, Stacy. He
told me you're good.
Accept them, and sometimes I forget that, and I get really stressed out about them because, like you said, they're all day, all night.
Yeah.
And the first thing when I wake up, and I'm just like, I get angry. I wake up angry because it's like I'm sick of it. But other times, I actually find moments where I don't hear anything, and then I'll notice I don't hear anything, and then boom, they're back.
That's what happened to me, but I did the work. And then right now we're working on the underlying factors, and we got, so it's just, I think the faster you get help with therapy, the better, you'll get, because I feel that for me, if I would have started as soon as I started feeling the derealization, I think I would have recovered faster with the derealization. I just had no idea what I was going through.
Well, like, what did you do to get rid? You had them for 2 years before you found? No, because you wait.
No, I had derealization for about 2 years, and then it went away for about a year. But then I developed the earworms, and that's when I started seeing Sherry for that specific problem, and I had tinnitus. So earworms, what do you have? Like when you say earworms, are you like having constant
music?
Yes.
It's like a radio that never shuts off.
Yeah. And are you a dancer or like a music artist or anything?
I love music, but I just don't listen to it that much. I do.
You should listen to it more. That's what I did. I did the opposite because I was like, I must avoid music because then this song will get stuck. And so I was like, no, I love music and I'm just going to continue listening to it. And I did. And then just with time, I overcame it. And now when songs get stuck in my head, it'll be maybe at the most for like a day or two. And then I'm just like, oh, I'm just a little stressed out. That's it. It's okay. And then it goes away. I forget about it, which I think I should be doing that with derealization, right, Jim?
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, I try. And sometimes it works. Like sometimes I'll notice, oh, it's actually quiet. I can actually just listen to but this, like I said, the second I notice it, it's like my brain turns it on, picks a song and turns it on. It's constantly shuffling songs, and that's what's annoying, but it's not a huge deal. I'm not afraid of it. It's just annoying. Like I'm past the part of being afraid of it. Because a few months ago when I came on here and talked to Jim, I was like really afraid of it. Like I was afraid of music. I was afraid of.
That's so funny because I never heard of like it. For me, I felt like that was rare. And then when I seen Jim's like, no, that's very common. It was like a big relief to me because I didn't know. I was like, am I the only one dealing with this? This is scary.
I know. Actually, you and Jim's video was what gave me my first relief. And then I found his website.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it will go away as long as you tell yourself, like, you know what, it's okay. It's not a big deal. It's like intrusive thoughts, but yours is just music, you know?
Yeah.
Yours are songs. Like everybody has those thoughts that are like lingering, but yours is music. For me, it was the same thing. And when I accepted it for what it was, it literally, it just went away. Like, and it's not one of the scary symptoms for me. I was like, in the beginning it was, and then when I worked at it, it was just like, okay, it's not a big deal. But you'll get over it.
I hope so, because
you will.
Good news. It's funny. It's like my derealization went away, and you're struggling.
Oh my god!
Earworms went away, and I'm struggling.
And you're like, oh, it's not a big deal, derealization. And for me, the music's not a big deal. It's funny. Like when I get a song stuck in my head, it's actually like, oh, and it's like it lasts a day or two. I'm like, oh, it's just I'm a little stressed. It's okay. It'll go away, and it does. It really does.
Yeah. I like my little cloudy breaks, but of course now thanks a lot, Jim. Jim said cloudy breaks, and then my brain's like, oh, and then starts playing that song from Sesame Street, Cloudy Day. Yeah. So I'm like, oh.
Any song that you hear, it'll get stuck. I remember that, but you just have to. You just got to be like, oh well, it's not a big deal.
Oh, okay, I'll try that.
All good advice. Yeah, it's funny. Earworms is one of the symptoms that tips me off. My stress is going up.
They don't really they don't stress me, or like I'm not afraid of them. But yeah, I'm to the point where I'm not afraid anymore, and they're just annoying sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're not as bad as they were, so that is a plus. I wanted to let you know that, Jim.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. And Vanessa, you're right. You want to get to that place with the depersonalization, derealization symptom too. Yeah, I'm stresses up, no big deal, and that's where you want to get to. Yeah.
That's funny. I'll do that. I didn't think of doing that with this symptom.
Like I use my symptoms, the ones that return, and earworms is one of them. Sleep disruption is another. As tips to me, and they don't bother me, so a lot of times I'll just go up my day anyways, no matter if they're there or not. And being a musician, I'm used to thinking of musical melodies all day long, so it doesn't bother me. It's just that when I wake up in the morning and there's a song playing in my head, it's like, oh yeah, my stress is up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And then that's how you lower your stress, right? Because you'll know it's like a little like, hey Jim, like Mr. Anxiety's here, like just letting you know that you're getting too stressed. You need to calm down, right?
Yeah, you bet. I don't know if anybody remembers mood rings from years ago. It's like an indication of how your mood was. I know it's kind of phony, but my symptoms just let me know that my stress is up and I need to either back off the work or stay off my leg until the pain subsides or whatever. But they don't bother me. It's just that they're there. They're indications for me. Thankfully we have them. A lot of people are completely oblivious to their symptoms, so they don't even adjust their stress. So we can use them as, a good way to keep managing our stress.
Yeah, that's a good way to go.
Yeah.